Update. Am I the a-hole for insisting my brother's girlfriend proves she's pregnant or she has to move out? Original story. My female 20 brother 24 has been on and off with his girlfriend 27 for a couple of years now. It's been the same song and dance. They're happy for a few weeks, then something small happens, they argue, it gets really nasty, and they make up and back to being a loving couple. When I learned my brother got kicked out of his apartment and needed a place to stay, I offered him the extra room in my apartment, and my brother agreed to pay rent, help with the bills, and pitch in with food. For 3 months now, she's been announcing she's pregnant. She alone will eat a snack box with 50 small bags of chips in a week. I tried to reason with her and get her to cut back, not only from overeating, but she was running us low on food. But she insists she and the baby are healthy, and it's just cravings, blah blah blah. Since last month, most of what my parents sends to my house. My mom is a couponer, so she bulks shops and give away what she has too much of. My brother's girlfriend is the first to get into it, and a large portion of it is gone by a few days to a week. From a 24 case of Monster, the energy drink if you're not familiar, 8 will be gone in a week from just her. She eats a hell of a lot of food too, most of which no pregnant woman should be consuming so much of. And yes, I know all pregnancies are different, but words can't explain how much she eats in one sitting. So today I had seen her drinking coffee, and after her second cup I asked her if she should be drinking so much, and she said her doctor told her it was fine and she had no worries. When I suggested she take on a healthier diet for the baby, she just scoffed and walked out. I went and asked my brother if he's been to any of her doctor appointments or even seen a positive pregnancy test, and he said he didn't. I confronted her about it, and she said she didn't have to prove anything and started to get defensive. I told her she needed to show a test or some proof of going to the doctor, or she needs to move out as she doesn't help at all. My brother started defending her and changed his answer from not seeing any proof to seeing her pregnancy test. My parents got word of what I said, and my mom says I was in no place to say anything and every woman's body is different, and I wouldn't know since I've never been pregnant. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Kinda not the a-hole. Asking for proof is extreme, but she's also eating you out of house and home. Even if she's actually pregnant, she probably needs to find a place of her own and get herself her own food. Do you really want a family of 3 living with you when the mom and dad have a crap show of a relationship? Spoiler alert, you do not. Yeah, I see I was wrong for that. He said he only needed a few months to get back on their feet and to get his own place again. So I wasn't worried about them still living with me in the future. Except they haven't moved out, and depending on your lease, they could be considered tenants now, meaning you would have a hell of a hard time kicking them out. If she won't contribute financially, tell her she needs to buy her own groceries, or with your brother, and they're no longer allowed to eat your groceries at all. Not today home, and if your mother is so concerned, maybe she should house your brother and his girlfriend. She's the one that forced my brother to get his own apartment by kicking him out, because she was sick of their arguing. You're the a-hole. You don't need to know she's pregnant. Just say, you're eating all my food. I need you to start buying your own food or paying extra rent to cover it. Accusing someone of faking a pregnancy doesn't usually end well. And if she is, she can just fake a miscarriage, and you're still the a-hole. I know she's being ridiculous and it's hard to watch, but right now she's just looping you into a cycle of drama that she has with your brother. Don't tell pregnant women, or women pretending to be pregnant, what to eat or drink. In general, don't comment on what other people eat or drink at all. If the problem is that she's eating and drinking your food, the solution isn't to police her diet. It's to tell her to stop or make her pay for it. Edit. I did talk to her a while ago about getting a job as well as helping out financially, and she said she'd start and never has. Right, so based on majority of the comments, I overstepped, yes. But I'm going to go with my gut on this one and give them their 30 days notice and call it a day. I'll for sure update you guys in a month, when they're to be gone, and let you all who's interested know what's happened by then. I keep repeating myself, so let me add my brother knows everything I've said. The excessive caffeine, no ultrasound, etc. Yes, my brother still buys her tampons monthly, and I know this because it goes with me when I buy mine. No, I was not faking concern by the coffee comment. She drinks 2 cups of coffee a day along with a Monster. That's a ton of caffeine. And now for the update. Okay, so I gave my brother and his girlfriend a 30 days notice. They were to leave this Friday, but as of last Friday, I have my place to myself again. Basically, they fed me a bunch of lies since I gave them the 30 days notice. First, it was she can't get an appointment or an ultrasound because of all of the COVID patients. Then brother's girlfriend shows me a sonogram picture of her phone that I later found on Google Images. I asked why it was on her phone, and she said it was emailed to her after her doctor's appointment that she couldn't get. Then my brother brought home baby clothes last week, to sell the lie, I guess, but they weren't clothes for a newborn. It was a lot of 9 to 12 months and 2 T's. When I asked him why none were proper clothes for newborns, he said, so he can grow into them. Was told she was pregnant with a girl. I didn't bother to ask any more questions because I knew it was going to be lies on top of lies. Then Friday got home to them arguing at each other's throats. Eventually I called the cops because they weren't letting up. At this point, they both had to come clean with the truth. Brother's truth. His girlfriend is the reason he was kicked out of his place. Then she needed a place to stay because her parents kicked her out. So she forced him to let her stay in my house by faking being pregnant. He said after the first month, he knew she wasn't pregnant because she got her period, but she forced him to keep up the lie so I'd let her stay. Girlfriend's truth. Brother invited her to stay at my place, and to make sure I wouldn't say no, he told her to fake a pregnancy and I'd be sympathetic. I won't go into detail, but I'm 100% certain that part she said was true, and I wouldn't question her using tampons as I'll make up a lie for her. She said he told her to eat up all of the food because it'll make it all seem legit. So that's about all. I'm still unsure who's telling the truth, but they both got all of their belongings and went their own way, I assume, so it's not my problem anymore. Great update. Glad you followed your feeling. You don't need a drama. It could have backfired. Luckily it didn't. Still sucks he used my past against me, but it is what it is. Can only move forward from here. Know what relationship you have with your brother. He sees no issue with lying to you for whatever profit. Keep that in mind, and take care. Thanks for the update. And obviously the trash took itself out now and you have your home back. And you know neither of them can ever be trusted. Right? Thank goodness Opie threw them out before it got to the miscarriage part of their story. So your brother and his girlfriend both admitted to lying to you. Who cares which one had idea first? In order to manipulate and take advantage of you? Yep, you're well rid of them. Let your mom know the situation so they can't try the same crap with her. Yeah, I came here to say this too. She was living with 2 manipulative liars. Doesn't really matter which one is better at coming up with stories. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for snapping at my wife and calling her selfish? I never loved my daughter. Not really. I always hated the idea of children, so me and my wife, but mostly me, were super careful. One way or the other though, she got pregnant. I know it happens sometimes, but my wife didn't want to get rid of the baby. We talked about it for a bit, but eventually we agreed to keep the baby because I didn't want to make her feel like she had to do something she didn't want to, especially with her child. So, boom, baby. Except after she had the baby, it didn't seem like she was taking care of her as much as she should have. Sometimes I would come home from work and the baby would be alone with my wife, nowhere to be seen. I didn't want the baby to live a life of being neglected. I'd have us never give her a chance of a good childhood, so I tried to take care of the baby when I could. Admittedly, I was very bad at it. I didn't know how to take care of a baby, which is something I should have begun researching when it was confirmed we were having the baby. I was also never really mentally prepared to care for a baby, as I had never wanted one, and, truth be told, really despised children and taking care of them. But regardless, I still tried to take care of her when my wife wasn't around, which was a lot of time. Fast forward 15 years, my daughter is now 15 years old. I've taken care of this child, put her into school, spent money that I worked for on this kid that I never even wanted, for 15 years now. And my wife still seems to be absent for the child. One evening we were eating dinner, and my wife was talking about how good of a baby she raised. I snapped at her and told her that she had never raised this baby, and that she was selfish for pushing her choice on me. Everything got quiet after that, and we just sort of all left. I know that she was never present for our daughter, and I guess everything from the past years just boiled over. But mostly, I feel bad about saying it in front of my daughter. I don't want her to feel like she's responsible or blame herself for me and my wife's relationship. I want her to live a good life, and I don't want our conflict to ruin that for her. So am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. So you announced to your daughter that you never wanted her and that your wife forced her on you? You're the a-hole. Honestly, none of the rest of the context matters. This. He could have gotten the vasectomy if it was that big of a deal to him. Poor child is the only party not the a-hole here. Good grief, Opie. I understand feeling resentful of your wife's absence, but you should have looked into resolving those issues years ago, rather than spewing them in front of your daughter. Edit. I'm not saying he should have gotten a vasectomy no matter what, but it was a potential option if he knew he despised children so much. Alternatively, he could have left the relationship when his wife decided to keep the baby. But since he decided to stay, he could have made an effort to alter his perception on children, rather than internalizing and spewing the same negativity towards them 15 years later. Everyone sucks here except your daughter. Poor child being told she was never wanted. Congrats, Dad. You've just ensured that she will need therapy for the rest of her life to get over the way you feel about her. Everyone sucks here and you're the a-hole just for the weird attached way you talk about your child and how you resent her. Yikes. The two of you should have put her up for adoption, and at least given her a small chance of being loved. Also, what you said about your daughter being your wife's choice that she pushed on you is absolutely horrendous. I can't believe you said that in front of your daughter. I hope you've got money for therapy for your poor kid. She didn't ask for any of this. You all suck, except the child. I'm seeing a lot of put her up for adoption comments, but I wonder, did the wife who decided to keep the child he didn't want also decide to not allow the adoption for the child he didn't want but she wanted? That she didn't even have to raise because he did it. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my parents that my brother is not welcome in my house? I don't think I've done something wrong here, but since most of my relatives say I am, I might as well take some further judgment to see if I'm doing something that I haven't realized yet. I'm engaged to a wonderful woman. We are both 25 years old. I've been with her since we were 18. It's been 7 years. And finally we're financially ready to move to our first house. Before we could make the decision to live together in our own place, she stayed over at my house for the past 2 years of the pandemic. We decided it would be best for her to save money for our future house instead of spending it on rent. Her parents also live in another state, so they're far away and she couldn't stay with them. We got engaged a bit before COVID hit, and been living in my house since. My brother sometimes lives in this house, but he's also got his own place. The house we're living in is my parents'. My brother is a very inappropriate person who never knows where to stop with his jokes. He's implied he's a better fit for my fiancée as a joke. He's flirted with her multiple times while she's visibly uncomfortable. But when I defend my fiancée and tell my brother to leave her alone, he makes fun of me for being insecure that he'll steal my girl. And my mother always justifies him and says he's just joking and I'm overreacting. Last week, during a fight my mom had with my brother basically owes money to my mom, and my mom simply said she wants the money back. She needs it. My brother then insulted my fiancé out of nowhere, telling my mom, if you need the money so much, go get them from that W your other son bangs, who stays rent-free in our house for the past 2 years, and she hasn't put a penny in it. I overheard him saying that and we got in a huge fight. For the record, my fiancé helps a lot with the house, not only in housework but financially too. But due to the fact her paycheck is lower than mine, she gives less money than I do because she can't afford to give more. But she still helps, so my brother's claim is baseless. After some back and forth insults with my brother, he left and I told my mom he's not allowed to step a foot in my new house. Thankfully my fiancé was at work during that fight, so she didn't hear a thing. But I told my mom that him making my fiancé uncomfortable for 2 years straight was bad enough, but him calling her a W is the last straw, and he won't be allowed anywhere near her ever again. My mom, dad, and basically many of my aunts, uncles, and cousins found out about this and claimed I'm the a-hole, and I'm grateful for daring to ban my brother from my house, and how I should be ashamed to say that. Am I? Not the a-hole. Your house, your rules. Sounds like a dirtbag, to be honest. I hope you and your fiancé have a smooth move-in, and congrats on the new house. 2 years is a long time for your fiancé to endure that type of mistreatment in her own residence. You're the a-hole for not putting a stop to it from the very beginning. Like if that was me, the confrontation would have been loud and severe on day 1. Day 2, if he as so much makes another flirt, yelling would ensue, and no contact until he shapes up and genuinely shows me he changed. I would make that crap awkward as hell that it would freeze it. Grow a backbone, homie. At minimum, it will be your house. And if you don't want him there for any reason, that's your choice. He has continuously disrespected your fiancé and your relationship. No one would want to openly invite that into their house. First of all, you don't have to explain your girlfriend's finances at all. And I would put a stop to that the second he brings it up. Your brother took money from your mom, so he owes it. Nothing else going on in her life matters. Doesn't matter if she lets a million girls stay in her house for free. He owes your mom money and is deflecting responsibility. Your mom? She's an enabler who seems like nurtured this behavior. Even if he's the nicest guy in the world, you're allowed to have boundaries. You can't refuse to allow anyone in your home for any reason. Not only is he nasty to your girlfriend, he's a misogynist, nasty to your mom, a bad brother, and manipulative. People like that only wreak havoc in your life. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for buying my daughter a car for her birthday? My ex and I are divorced. My ex now has a new family, including a son with her new husband. They're 2 years apart, 18 and 16. They both live with my ex and her husband. So after buying my daughter a car for her birthday, my ex gave me a call to tell me that it wasn't fair to buy one kid a car but not the other, now that they both have their license. I can't really understand that perspective since he is not my son. He's hers. She told me that they're still siblings who live together, and now she has a car while he doesn't. She said they can't afford to get him one and that she can tell is jealous, and it hurt him. She said she understood where it was coming from, but she still thought it was wrong to get one a car but not the other. I do feel for the kid even though he isn't my own, and his mother and father aren't as financially stable as myself. Edit. In the past, I've gotten him a gift for Christmas. PS5 and some games that my daughter picked out last year. Just because I know his parents can't afford it for Christmas, and I spent a lot on my daughter. And my justification for it was that I didn't want him to feel left out. So I think that's where she got the idea from. So that's my fault. I let his mom give it to him as if they had bought it, just so that it didn't make things between my ex and her new husband awkward. Not today, home. Just because your ex wants equality between her bi kid and his step kid doesn't mean you can't buy nice gifts for your bi kid. Ex's other kid is not your relation. You didn't do this to make the other kid feel bad. He just has no relation to you. You did a nice thing for your daughter, that's the be-all end-all. What does your ex want? You to include her step-kid in your inheritance? When does this end? Can you no longer buy nice things for your own daughter? From your ex's response, I can understand why she's an ex. Utterly unreasonable and clueless with it to try to make this your problem. I think she reacted the way she did, since last year I bought her son a PS5 and some games, but my daughter's suggestion, for Christmas, so that he wouldn't felt left out when he got my daughter more expensive gifts than his parents would be giving him. So I sort of set the standard. Not today, home. Not your kid, not your financial concern. I want a car too at his age. Guess what? I work jobs to save up for one. Either his parents or himself can do that. Can't stand entitled people trying to push your limit just because you were generous with past gifts.
Update. Sister-in-law expressed I don't deserve our new house. Now husband's family is melting down. Original post. My husband, 38 male, and I, 33 female, just bought our first house. My husband has a pretty high-paying job. I work and make a decent salary, but our budget to buy our house was definitely influenced more by his earnings. We had his family over last week. Generally, I love his parents. They've always been really good to me, and they're fun. I have not spent as much time with his sister outside of holiday gatherings, but we do have her son, husband's nephew, stay with us for a week over the summer the last few years. So I know him well too, and love him. So everyone mentioned above comes over and we show them around the house. At one point, I'm showing sister-in-law a kitchenette in the basement, and I say something like, "It's great that our house has this space now, so if you want to visit us, you'll have basically a separate apartment." And she goes, "Our? Is it also your house?" I'm immediately confused, but also I guess she could have assumed my husband bought it on his own. I said, "Yeah, we bought it together." And she goes, "Do you think you deserve to own half of this house?" I don't know. I just think that's crazy. I was shocked, and I mostly panicked, said, "Well, I do, yeah," and fled the basement. I immediately told my husband, away from his family, and he in turn immediately went to talk to his sister. I went to hang out with his parents and didn't say anything to them, but then we heard shouting outside. My husband and his sister were yelling at each other. I know people are different with their siblings, but I've never really heard him yell before. I could hear him tell her that we don't have a prenup, and she called him an idiot. I had to tell his parents what was going on. They went and intervened and left pretty quickly with his sister and nephew, who didn't hear any of this through the magic of video games, I think. His mom said sorry to me on the way out. I did touch base with my husband and he was livid, like way angrier than I'd expect. He told me that before we got married, his sister was the beneficiary of his life insurance, and he thought she was angry over essentially being removed from all his assets. But we've been married 3 years. She apparently had texted him about being added to the house paperwork a few weeks ago during the buying process, and he had just ignored her. His parents have reached out to me and have been very sweet and apologetic, but they really want to fix things and have asked if I'll talk to sister-in-law. I'm trying to step away from it and just say it's now between my husband and his sister. Is that fair? Of course, I'm a bit hurt by her saying that, but at the end of the day, if she has problems with how he's handling his assets, that's between the two of them, right? I feel really bad because his family has always been so sweet, and I really love his nephew, so I also want things to be fixed. Now for the top comments before reading the update. What could you possibly say to your sister-in-law? I think you say that the issue isn't really about you. It's about how sister-in-law thinks everything that is your husband's is part hers. That's something your husband needs to set straight, not you. You just sit there and stay pleasant. You handled this perfectly. It's not your battle and your husband has your back clearly. Sister-in-law sounds insane. I know this is right, but it's just really frustrating. We've had the awkward conversation of explaining why we don't have a prenup to some friends and family, and I really don't mind getting into those topics or talking about those things. I know this is different because she's not coming from a place of curiosity or just wanting to understand, but it's wild to me that it jumped this quickly suddenly when we bought a house. You shouldn't have to explain to anyone whether or not you have a prenup. And just why does his sister think she's more entitled to your husband's and your assets? Where's her husband or significant other? She's been really unlucky in relationships, been with some real crappy dudes, and the kid's dad is totally off the map and has been for years, which is partially why my husband has his college fund and pays for a bunch of his extra stuff, like camps and sports. When he comes to stay with us, it's for a private baseball camp thing. Mini update. Wow, this blew up a bit. I will make an update. We have plans to chat about it today and speak with his parents and figure out how we want to go forward. I agree with essentially all of you, and I'm not planning to discuss it with her until she apologizes. And to answer some common questions, nephew's dad is not and has not been in the picture for a long time. Sister-in-law has been in and out of relationships with not the best types of dudes. She is younger and there are no other siblings. Yes, there's been a pattern of her getting more help from their parents, but it's because she really needs it with being a single mom, and my husband has always been pretty independent. I promise I don't tell every person on the street about our lack of a prenup. My husband did come into the marriage with a lot of assets, so I think when his friends and family expressed curiosity about a prenup, it was coming from a place of concern or care for him, and I love that, so it felt appropriate to share how we made that decision. No one ever pushed back. I've never talked to his sister about it, and I think she didn't know. But my husband sort of yelled it at her in anger in a, "We don't even have a prenup" way. We are planning on kids, but could still keep up what we currently do for our nephew even if we did. He just became an official teenager, so the college fund is close to complete. At this stage, we don't add much money to it anymore. It's just accruing. Now for the update. I was not expecting that much feedback, but I'm super grateful. It was really affirming and validating to read a lot of those comments, and a bit humbling too. This recent move took us a little bit out of town, so I'm still close to my social circle, but didn't immediately have someone to vent to, and you all were really helpful in that way. To update, she was secretly planning his murder to get the life insurance money. No, not really. After talking a bunch with both my husband and his parents, we figured out a few things. He didn't tell her that he'd replaced her as the beneficiary on everything because he assumed she would know that. So she had texted him during the home purchase, "Hey, do you need my signature on anything for this new house?" He had messaged her back, "No." She then essentially asked if the house was an asset set up, like his life insurance. And he told her that everything is set up fine and that I'm on all the paperwork. And she responded, "Okay." So I do think part of this is her truly not knowing how marriage is supposed to work, and she seems to have expected there wouldn't be any change. I found out she also mentioned this with their parents, her main concern being that if something happened to my husband, I wouldn't help her son like we've been doing as a couple. Mother-in-law and father-in-law say they told her not to worry and that I love our nephew, but that was what was going on behind the scenes before all this. Mother-in-law and father-in-law also admitted that they may have unintentionally encouraged this because they've always really encouraged their kids to support each other. But due to the various dynamics at play, what that ends up being is pressure on my husband and a sort of "your brother will always be there for you" message to his sister. This was particularly strong in the last few years before I met and married him because his parents thought he was planning to be a lifelong bachelor. They're not wrong. He definitely had that mindset at a time. And so then he and his sister really were, in their eyes, each other's lifelong person. So the last few years, there had been this level of fallout I wasn't even aware of due to that. I also learned sister-in-law is in a not great financial situation. And due to past issues, the whole family essentially refuses to give her cash, but will do things like buy groceries or pay a phone bill. So she's been struggling, and I think feeling a little desperate and jealous. Of course, none of this is an excuse, and I'm not speaking to her until I get an apology. My husband has also said he needs at least a week or two before he speaks to her, but he does plan to. His parents are totally in agreement and understand. They are going to tell her that we talked about the dynamics at play and that she needs to acknowledge what is going on here and take accountability for her part in it. So hopefully that will kickstart things in the right direction. Being too understanding and too flexible has been a difficulty for me for a long time. Having feedback about how truly messed up that situation was really helpful for me, so thank you. For me, there's a fine line between being unbothered and being a doormat, and I'm definitely working on differentiating those two. Glad that it has been talked about. You fully deserve that apology from her. Her being broke isn't on you, and the family need to stop enabling her by helping. It's also wild that her whole plan was to just leech off her brother and foist her kids' expenses on other people. Like, get your act together, lady. You decided to have a kid. You're way too old to be this much of an insufferable loser. Yeah, I find the whole parents' line of thought of they'll be each other's lifelong person grotesque. What kind of emotional incest are the parents trying to set up between their son and daughter? Even if OP's husband had ended up a bachelor, his sister should not feel entitled to him or his resources. Raising her to be independent would have been the better move. You? Your husband is gonna need some therapy to unpack all this weird enmeshment. The whole you two are going to be lifelong partners as siblings from the parents. Emotional incest indeed. Double ew. Single mom here would never expect or ask this of my brother, single or otherwise. Just wow. I understand where his parents were coming from to a degree. It basically started out as, "You're the older brother, look out for her." But then he progressed and became really successful and financially successful, and she struggled in various ways, and so it really snowballed. I am glad they realized that the enmeshment is an issue. Next story. Am I the a-hole for disowning my mother after she refused to hold my toxic sister accountable? I, 28 female, have a terrible relationship with my sister, 31 female. It wasn't always this bad when we were kids, but over the years, the resentment and hurt have built up, and now we can barely tolerate each other. One of the biggest issues is how my mother, the peacekeeper, refuses to ever hold her accountable. I get that she loves both of us and wants peace in the family, but what it's really done is enable my sister's toxic behavior, while I'm left to suffer for the sake of keeping the peace. Here's just one example. When my parents were overseas, my sister wanted to go on a holiday but didn't have the money. My mother asked me to loan it to her, so I did. Later, when I asked for repayment, my sister told me to collect it from my mom because she'd be sponsoring her trip. My mom told me she never said that. It was supposed to be my sister's responsibility. But my sister insisted, and in the end, that I just paid for it myself because I couldn't bear to take money from my stay-at-home mother. And that's how it always goes. I'm left to foot the bill, literally and emotionally. And it gets worse. After I broke up with my ex, who I introduced to my sister, she got together with him almost immediately. I had to sit in my own home, freshly heartbroken, watching as my ex picked her up for dates. I found out later they were in contact, even when we were dating. My parents told me not to make a scene because blood is thicker than water, and she's your sister, you should forgive her. They even welcomed my ex to family gatherings, saying, "We'll do the same for you if you fall in love with someone." There are so many examples I could share. Family plans are always rescheduled to accommodate her because I am the accommodating one. My parents have offered to pick me up only to cancel last minute because there's no space in the car after picking up your sister and her boyfriend. I've had to help my parents financially because my sister won't lift a finger and I can't bear to see them struggle. All this because I'm the mature one, as they love to remind me. My mother's fallback in every fight is both of you are wrong, even when it's so clearly one-sided. I know my mom loves me, but as an adult, I've come to realize how much this is failed parenting. I finally told my mom I've had enough. I will no longer tolerate this dynamic. Parents of Reddit, how would you handle this if your children were at odds? Do you believe in always staying neutral? Or would you step in when one child is clearly in the wrong? I love my family, but I'm tired of keeping the peace at the expense of my sanity. Am I the a-hole for taking it this far? Now for the top comments. Just tell your mother how you feel. Write down everything your sister has done to you and every time your mother had enabled her. Then just tell her that it stops now. If you finally can't put me first, that's it. I'm done with all of you. Your sister is 31, not 13. It's disgusting what your mother has turned her into. This is all on your mother and her enabling ways. Not the a-hole, but you would be if you don't confront your mother and truly tell her how you feel and what your dreadful sister has done to you. Oh, believe me, I have tried. I have told her multiple times, citing examples after examples for years. She would simply brush it off, telling me it's a small issue and that she's family, but never addressing the core problem or holding her accountable. Nah, dude, not the a-hole at all. Your mom's peacekeeping is just code for enabling BS and letting your sister treat you like a doormat. That ain't neutrality. That's cowardice in a mom costume. You set a boundary, and honestly, good for you. Blood ain't thicker than self-respect. Keep that energy. Facts. It's not peacekeeping if one person is always bleeding for it. Sometimes walking away is the healthiest move. The sister is the golden child. OP just hasn't figured it out yet. Last story. Am I the a-hole for changing my last name to match with my kids, even though my ex hates it? A 27 male was having casual hookups with Nia, 26 female, for 2 years when she got pregnant. I told her I'd stand by her and the baby, but she told me to care more about the kids than her because we were not a couple and never would be. About 6 months into her pregnancy, she told me she was putting her new boyfriend on the birth certificate and didn't want me involved. I told her I wasn't about to let her cut me out of our baby's life. She warned me I'd need to fight because she wanted to make things easier, and her boyfriend being the dad was easier. 8 months into her pregnancy, I found out she was expecting twins and not a singleton. The reason she never told me is, the less I knew, the more she could make it look like I didn't care when paternity and custody became a fight. When the twins were born, I petitioned the court for a DNA test and to establish custody if they were proven to be mine. I had some doubt around then because of how hard she shut me out. DNA showed I was the father of our twins, and a custody schedule was set up where I could be involved and pay child support. After paternity was settled and my name was put on the birth certificates, I really hated that I didn't have the same last name as them. So, I changed mine to match. She heard about it through some people we both know, and she told me it was gross, and she hated the idea. I told her it wasn't her decision, and I wasn't doing it for her, but for me and to match with my children. This is my first Father's Day as a dad, and I get to have the same last name as my kids, and it feels great. They're almost 1, and this last year and a half has been crazy, and it's still not over. But I don't regret the decision to match with my kids. I know my ex and her boyfriend both think I was wrong. My ex's boyfriend taunted me a few times that he might share a name with my kids one day when I won't. They think I did it because of that, but my mind was on it even before he said it the first time. Was this an a-hole move when it was about my kids and not my ex? I know it was her name first, but I don't know. Am I the a-hole? You are a real man. Fight for your kids. Love them. Teach them. Guide them. Not the a-hole in the slightest. However, I can give you this tidbit of advice. As your kids grow up, if their mother and her man decide to badmouth you to your kids, and there is a chance they will, do not do the same. Be neutral at worst. Show them how a real man behaves, with strength to persevere through adversity, with pride enough to never allow another person's words to affect his actions, and with love and affection towards his children and those they care about, regardless of how they feel about him. Sharing because I went through this. Have it put in your custody agreement that neither party can talk bad about the other. Since it was in writing, my ex had to watch what he said. Also, and this is very important, insist that all scheduling, doctor's appointments, vacations, school trips, etc. be conducted via email only. I can't tell you how often my ex tried to lie, only to be caught by the lack of email. Not the a-hole. They are your kids and you did it for them. Honestly, what I think is gross is the fact that your ex literally tried to keep your kids away LMFAO. I think you should throw that in her face every time she uses the word gross with you. In a world where we already have deadbeat dads and coward fathers, we need more men like you. So maybe your ex should stay in her lane and not worry about a name. Happy Father's Day, OP.